We're back with another edition of HCDC. This time we're bringing on a guy that's trying to tank. This time it's D Money Dalton. What's up, dude?
So, dude, fuck you, A Hopes.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
starting. That's how we're starting off already.
Number one pick's mine.
I guess it's better than flicking off the camera, so we'll take that. Oh, there it is. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Start off traditionally, like we do with every podcast. What was your first football memory, or at least like what do you first remember, and like kind of what got you hooked into the sport?
Probably watching LSU football with my dad growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just progressed into like me playing and then watching football every Saturday and Sunday, college and NFL.
Because you played for our freshman team.
Yeah.
Went 7-0, went undefeated. That was a
Undefeated.
classic season.
Yeah.
Never lost.
Can't beat it.
Well, like, what do you remember? Like age 5, you had started like watching football, or was like a little bit later, like 9 or 10, like me?
Probably like 5. I mean, I
5.
can remember watching LSU being like little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not too bad. And then like at that point, it took you quite a few years to get into fantasy football. So when did you start? Like 2013, 2014, like our freshman year of high school? Is that when you got into it, or was it a little bit
Yeah.
earlier?
I think freshman year in high school I started. I was in a league with our buddy Parker and
Mm-hmm.
like a bunch of random people. And I
You
don't
you say a
even,
bunch. It was like
yeah,
four. It was like 4-man league.
yeah, something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
it almost doesn't count.
I mean, I don't even remember what happened in it, so I guess
it,
not.
was so, it was so forgettable.
It was.
But at that point, now that you've kind of gone 10 years now into playing fantasy football, kind of like, do you have any like accolades that you can go off of to be like, yeah, I'm legit?
I mean, I always compete every year.
Mm-hmm.
I've won a couple championships, either in like my work league or other leagues growing up. But I feel like I've never really won like the big chip. I mean, I'm in the championship twice and halfway Crooks, and I haven't won yet,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I sold my team.
Yeah, we'll get into that later, but
Yeah.
like basically for the redraft leagues, when you were kind of going through it, and we had talked with Brandon, and Brandon was like, "Hey, you want to do this dynasty league?" Like, what was kind of your mindset? Because you initially were just so used to these guys are just on my team for this year, and then we'll just redraft and reset everything. Well, what kind of
Yeah.
went through your mind when you're like, "Oh, I get to actually keep these guys"?
I mean, I looked into it a little bit, and because I realized it would be a big commitment, it's like running your own franchise pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So I made sure to look into it, and it seemed really cool. So I was like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
The
why
the, the
not?
buy the buy-in's only $80 a year. Say
Yeah,
less.
not bad.
But first couple of years we did the startup, and we kind of worked together to work on your team, and it was
Hmm.
looking pretty good. I mean, like you said, you were runner up in the first 2 years. Just kind of talk about your team throughout that point, because even though you lost to the 5 and 6 seed those years in the championship, you were pretty dominant.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like my team was the best those 2 years. I'm pretty sure I was like first and second in points scored in each 2 seasons. I mean, my team is stacked. I mean, the first year thought I was gonna win it, but people didn't show up. And then
Justin Jefferson did not
yeah,
show up for that championship game.
and then the second year I thought I was also gonna win it, but people didn't show up again.
They're not showing
So
up when the lights are brightest, dude.
yeah.
But I mean, even though you've kind of gone through that, what went into the decision of you deciding to trade a bunch of your guys?
So after losing twice in the championship, I sat back and looked at my team, and I knew I was still like top tier, probably top three in the league if I would have kept everybody. But I figured I've been in championship twice, couldn't get it done. I've got aging assets, and once I decided to move on from McCaffrey, it was like he's kind of my centerpiece for the team. So you get rid of him, it's kind of trying to go the other way. So I
You
just
so
got rid of
you
everybody.
you considered Christian McCaffrey as your centerpiece instead of Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like McCaffrey's probably the most consistent each week. He's kind of
That's fair.
head of the horse. Yeah.
That's understandable. Because I mean, you didn't. you had started off with your first pick being Justin Jefferson, so I kind of always thought of him being your cornerstone,
I mean, he
especially
is.
since you
Yeah,
especially since you just refused to trade him.
yeah, he is the cornerstone of my team for sure in the long run. Like so many people have tried to get him, and I probably won't take any offer unless it's something astonishing. But for the first 2 years, I feel like McCaffrey was the most consistent. He's always going to be there, so I considered him like lead guy.
Well, okay, what's the price? Name a
For
price.
Jefferson,
Yeah, like actually realistic. Don't say like 17 first,
no, I would take like some
because
like
everybody in the league wants to know what's it going to take to get Justin Jefferson off your hands.
definitely like two or three firsts
Okay,
and a player. Like I would probably do like a younger receiver like an Olave or Garrett Wilson with a couple firsts, and I might consider it.
you would almost consider it.
Yeah,
What would put it over the top where it's like you don't even have to think about it. You'd be like, all right, cool. I'll hit send right here. I'll hit
probably like
accept.
three firsts and
Three first and like Olave or just another receiver that's
yeah.
25 or younger, but is kind of in that wide receiver one, wide receiver two range. Because it feels like Garrett Wilson's always been one of those guys that could very easily grow into being a wide receiver one, but he's always been in that wide receiver two range. But that's mainly because of quarterback play.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, three firsts and a guy like one of those two, probably do it.
Might have to cook some up before,
Yeah,
before we get to that point. Can't give you Chase, but
nah,
maybe you could have someone else on my team.
yeah, Puka,
Maybe. Maybe not Puka.
then no deal.
What do you mean, dude? Take like, do you want Keon Coleman?
No,
You
trash,
don't want Keon Coleman?
trash,
Local product?
trash.
That's crazy. All right. Well, it was funny because you mentioned how you got rid of quite a few of your team, quite a few of your players on your team. A lot of them are aging, even though Christian McCaffrey, even though he's 27, still kind of at the height. You are waiting for a downfall since we know about running backs, but
He does seem different in that aspect.
he does,
Yeah,
and the fact that he just signed the contract extension
yeah.
about a month ago, I think.
But you'd be surprised how hard he was to trade.
Really?
Nobody wanted to give me two firsts for the best running back in the league.
To be fair, I didn't even give you two firsts.
I know, I settled.
Yeah, you did settle,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that.
And Seth's gonna be mad because I
I was
took
gonna
your
say
trade,
we
but
should. That was funny because Seth had texted you right after we had made the trade on draft day,
yeah.
and then he was like, well, "What the fuck?"
Well, Seth had been trying to get him, but everything he sent didn't really make much sense for me, so I waited. And you offer something better that I like more, so I took it.
Well, what was he offering?
It's like I don't even remember. He offered a couple different things, but none of it.
Definitely wasn't Olave.
No.
definitely, definitely wasn't
He
Olave.
was
But
always throwing in Marquise Brown, which I don't want him.
no, I remember he tried to. He tried to because I had initially took him in the startup,
Mm,
traded him to Seth, and he's been on Seth's team. And then Seth's been trying to trade him ever since. He even tried to trade him back to me, and I was like, I don't want him. That was
yeah,
the whole reason I traded him was because I don't want him on my team anymore.
keep him.
Like you can, you're stuck with him now, buddy.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was with Kansas City, so it's not like the
Yeah, I mean, he's
worst.
gonna
It's
be
not like the
good,
worst
but
situation.
yeah,
But you traded quite a few of the guys, including McCaffrey, but you still kept quite a few guys that are still relatively young. Because even though you're trying to tank, which is interesting, you're trying to tank and you're still trying to get the first overall pick for next year.
yep,
But even though you've traded a bunch of guys like McCaffrey and Ridley and Christian Kirk and others, your team still looks a lot better than A Hope's.
well, yeah, because I'm not dumb.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean that's fair, but you still kept Justin Jefferson, you still have Trevor Lawrence, you still have T Higgins, and you decided to keep not only T.J. Hawkinson, but you also kept Cole Kmet. I thought you would have just gotten rid of Cole Kmet, especially since over the next couple of years, you're kind of expecting if Caleb Williams is to work out, even though Keenan Allen might be gone in a couple of years, you still have to worry about DJ Moore, who's going to be 28, 29 by the time we get to 2025, 2026, and even with Roma Dunze
mm,
likely to become the real wide receiver one.
yeah. I
It
mean,
kind of it kind of feels like Cole Kmet right now would be the fourth or fifth option,
mm,
and then even after Keenan Allen leaves, who's to say they don't get another? wide receiver or get a running back to work with. That way they can have other weapons, and then Cole's still kind of like that fourth or fifth option.
I mean, I just kept him really because I wasn't gonna get much for him right now with all the weapons they have. And then a quarterback's best friend his rookie year is always the tight end. So if he starts doing good, I could probably sell him for more during the season.
That's fair. You still are pretty big into Will Levis though.
Somewhat.
You see, I was gonna say because you took him at the end of the first round for the rookie draft, and
Hmm.
it didn't work out too bad for you. I mean, he did all right, but as of right now, like, what are your feelings toward him coming into year two?
I mean, this is probably a make it or break it type year for him. They put a lot of weapons around him, got rid of Derrick Henry. Only thing that worries me with him is his O line is pretty trash, and
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think he makes the best decisions quite yet, so we'll see how it goes.
but it's also interesting with that situation. Even for as bad as the O line is in Tennessee, they've also gone for quite a few receivers, and it even because of how many guys they've taken, it kind of fucked over Micah with
Hmm.
Traylon Burks, which was funny because Micah for the longest time was a Traylon Burks truther,
Yeah,
and now Burks is
on special teams.
basically
Yeah,
like if we can even say that
could be cut.
because it's really D Hop. And then they signed Tyler Boyd recently, which they had said like, don't worry, Burks, you're
Hmm.
like, Boyd isn't here to take your snaps, but it's like at the same time, I mean, if you have these other two veterans on the outside, plus Tyler Boyd, who's supposed to be a slot guy, where are you going to put Traylon Burks? Because he's always predominantly been an outside receiver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, pretty sure he's not great though.
No, no, we
No,
haven't seen much production out of him, so that's kind of fucking over Micah.
I do feel
Not
bad for Micah. To
not
lose his
only
guy.
the fall from grace from basically being on the same level as you last year to trading Tyreek to now having DJ Moore and Keenan Allen be on the same team, so they kind of fucked each other over.
Yeah.
Then Traylon Burks now almost being like wide receiver four on the team,
Yep.
kind of ruining him.
Oh, he
My
still
he
wants to
and
compete,
he
so
still says he's one of the top
yeah.
teams. Do you agree with that same sentiment?
I wouldn't say he's one of the top teams, but I honestly feel like if you have somewhat of a competitive team, anybody can win after what I've seen the past 2 years. Like you get in the playoffs, you have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, since the 5 and 6 seed won the first two championships, it kind of feels like, well,
Yeah.
what's the point in being a 1, 2, or 3 seed?
Yeah.
Because I think we'd even seen one of them be eliminated in the first round
Yep.
in one of the first 2 years. But with your team, it's funny how bare bones it is because you still kept Levis and you still kept those key guys, and I'm actually kind of surprised you still kept Jacoby Myers. What were you just
Yeah,
not
I
able to?
mean,
Were you not able to find a trade suitor with him, or like did you just not like any of the price anyone was like willing to give up for him?
yeah, I mean, it's not the best time to really trade him. We'll see how it goes. I don't know.
Because I mean, yeah, they still have Devonte Adams, but at the same time, we saw him be a wide receiver too last year. So it's kind of like I feel like even though you're worried about what's going on with Vegas, you're not quite sure what's happening with the quarterback situation. Jacoby, ever since he's left New England, he's been pretty solid.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I don't think people realize his value quite yet. I think he's pretty good on the Raiders, but I mean, I don't intend on keeping him. I'm just waiting for the right offer to come in.
You're it's kind of like just a wait and see for a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
I mean, because you really don't have any intention of trading any of
no,
your core members.
no. Those are the cornerstones. Try to build around them.
But what about T? T's been a weird. T Higgins has always been weird to me
Mm,
because you always have that high expectation since it's a good offense in Cincinnati, but at the same time, it never feels like he takes that next step forward. It always feels like he only gets around 230 to 250, and we've been expecting him to eventually get to 300.
mm,
But Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon were always eating up those numbers, so T wasn't able to go as high. And the whole situation right now where he didn't want to do he wanted to get an extension, but then they weren't able to come up with one, and then eventually they just settle on a 1 year deal. It's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
where are you with your mindset of your? Because it feels like even though you want him to be a cornerstone, if he goes to another team
Yeah,
and he becomes a wide receiver one,
I think he is a
it's
wide
going to be hard
receiver
not to
one.
want to trade him for the value.
I think he is a wide receiver one, and I think on the Bengals with Joe Burrow healthy, he's productive. But if he does end up going somewhere else, I would take offers on him depending. But depending on the team he goes to, I mean, if I keep him and Jefferson in the long run, it's a pretty good duo.
Because at the same time, you would just be able to have a quick reset. And
Yeah.
and like you just do instead of doing like what A Hopes and Reed are doing, you just
Hmm.
do like a 1 year rebuild, and
Yeah. I mean,
maybe next year, depending on what
yeah,
happens with the draft,
I
you
feel like I
completely
have
flip it.
options. I have options. Like the number one pick next year, if I get it, I wouldn't be unopen to trading it for players or other picks.
Right. I mean, the value wise, it probably wouldn't be as high as what we had seen this year.
You say that, but every year, no matter what, people are going to be hyped for the draft class. It
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
as soon as we get to like February and
Just
March, and
wait till these college kids start popping off during the season. Everybody's going to start sucking them off again.
they're like
Yeah,
Shadur Sanders, give them to me.
yeah,
But but it doesn't seem like any of the guys in the 2025 class or who's projected to be in the 2025 class, it doesn't feel like they have the same hype as a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Caleb Williams. So
mm,
it doesn't seem like, even though, yes, as we get closer to the draft, it's going to become more valuable, more likely than not, just because that's the nature of the beast. But
mm.
it doesn't seem like it would take like three firsts in the upcoming years to get a top two or three pick like it might have taken this year.
Yeah. I mean, this class was definitely hyped up a lot, but I mean, you go through the college season, they're going to hype up a lot of players that are playing good. It's going to be the same deal.
Do
They
you
might not have as much talent, but come draft time, people want who they want.
do you feel like you have maybe an advantage over a lot of the other league members because, like you had mentioned earlier, you grew up more into college football than the NFL,
Yeah.
so you almost feel like you have a better grasp of the players and who you think's actually going to work out as a pro compared to maybe some of these other guys that are just now finding out about these college prospects after the NFL season is wrapped up.
Yeah, I think I probably have a better idea of certain college players than the guys who just watch NFL every year, just because I watch probably more college than NFL.
At that point, you almost feel like you could use that as leverage to kind of get an extra deal done and kind of help with you being
Maybe,
able to get that reset going.
maybe so, depending what I see, you know.
Because like, sure, there might be someone that the top five players are always like super hyped up, but
Mm,
maybe you see a guy from, say, Mississippi State because you've always been an SEC guy.
mm.
Maybe you see someone from like Mississippi State that not a lot of people are talking about, and you could like get an extra third rounder, and then you pick them in the third, and that kind of helps speed up the process of actually being one of the better teams and kind of getting out of that bottom four.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I watch college, you can definitely see players pop more on the field, like the really exciting ones. And I think going in the draft, a lot of them get overlooked. So there's a lot of deep sleepers every year that you see names and you know them.
And then when it comes to our league, do you find that do you actually think there's seven or eight teams that are contenders? Or like how many of them do you think are pretenders?
Definitely, probably 7 or 8 that could contend this year.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, even Brandon. I love the way Brandon did his team. I think it's set up to where if his rookies pan out, he could win now, and he's definitely set up for the future.
Yeah, because not only did he get Marvin Harrison Jr.,
Mm,
but he also had got his guy Malik Neighbors. So even though we have the hype and are expecting them to do good, if they are able to, with the way his team's built, it feels like it could very easily be one of those sleeper teams that all of a sudden he goes from a team that you're kind of projecting maybe between 6, 7, and 8
Mhm.
to he actually could be 10-4 and be the 2 seed.
Definitely. If those rookies play well, he's gonna be up there.
But I guess what I could go into is some of the history of your trading because you don't do a lot. You're definitely
No.
not a Micah. You're definitely not an A Hopes or Brandon who's kind of like always itching to make a deal.
Mhm.
Why is that? Was it always just because you were always in contention so you didn't want to mess with anything, or was it just nothing really felt right and you just didn't feel like you need to make a move?
I mean, I'm not a big trade guy to begin with. I like drafting who I have and sticking with them, seeing it through. And that worked the first 2 years. I mean, I was pretty good with everybody I had. Coming in the last season, I did trade Ayuk for some running backs because I definitely needed running back help. Looking back at it, I think it was worth it to try to win the championship again,
Mm-hmm.
but Ayuk is also really good.
Yeah, I mean, Ayuk has taken a step forward pretty much every year,
Yeah.
but it is weird with what's going on right now in San Francisco because you're thinking, okay, one day you hear a report of he's going to stay in San Francisco, and then the next he's on Instagram Live wearing like a Steelers hat, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I guess he's going to Pittsburgh in the next couple of days, and then another report comes out and he like deletes like a post of him wearing a different
Oh
like
yeah.
team's gear
He's
on, and
over
you're
there
like,
like
it's
FaceTiming
like
Jaden
what's going
Daniels.
on?
Yeah,
Like it's weird.
definitely. I don't know. I hope he goes to Washington at some point, partner back up with Jaden. That'd be really cool.
Do you think it would actually happen, or do you think he's just gonna stay in San Fran?
I don't know. I feel like San Fran should value him more than Debo. I don't know if they do or not, but I would.
It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah,
Everyone else is getting paid, but Ayuk.
I know. I think they know that he's a top tier receiver and they don't want to pay him top tier receiver money.
Well, when it comes to the trading, even though you haven't done a lot, who are the people that you enjoy actually like talking to and actually potentially getting a deal done with?
Um, I don't know. I know, to be honest with myself, I suck at communicating through the app. Like I'll look at
Yeah,
something
it
at
feels like
work.
you turn
Yeah,
off the
I
notifications.
did turn them off at one point just because it was blowing my phone up with the comment section. But I'll look at a notification at work and then I'll just like forget about it and come back to it like a week later sometimes. So I'm sure I piss people off with that. But trying to trade with people, I mean, Seth is good at it. He'll talk to you. I don't try to trade a lot, but the people that trade with me, I'm cool with.
Or like the guys that approach you, because I mean, there's always people like Micah who's always coming to you
Hmm.
first, or either.
Micah will put the pressure on you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he'll do that.
he definitely puts it on you.
Mm,
He's like, dude, it's a great deal.
all
I'm like,
right.
what do you mean? Why wouldn't you do it?
Mm,
But then there's also the other guys that maybe don't come off as friendly and like don't seem as enjoyable. Because I've noticed with some of our league mates, it's a
mm,
lot easier to talk to some of the others because they'll like actually make it a conversation.
yeah,
But then sometimes there will be those trades where it's like, here's my offer, and you're
yeah,
like, I don't like this, and then they
yeah.
just stop talking to you.
I don't know. I mean, I've had maybe like one situation with that scenario, just trying to get
They
A
just
Hopes to trade me Jalen Hurts or something.
the
But
classic.
I mean, A Hope says Jalen Hurts is like his only staple of his team at this point. You may as well just trade him away for a couple picks and just full rebuild.
I mean, that's what we've all been
Yeah,
saying.
it's whatever though.
Like we've all tried to go for Jalen Hurts, just like everyone's tried to go for Jamar and everyone's tried to go for Justin.
Mm,
But it's kind of hard whenever you only see like one or two guys that have really only been the only good thing about your team. So you
yeah,
almost don't want to give it up.
yeah, I get it with Jefferson, but I think in his scenario, he should probably trade him away and just try to rebuild.
Do you think what did you think of this overall draft class? Because
Yeah.
you initially didn't really have any picks in 2024, but then you kind of got in there a little bit later.
I thought the draft class was loaded. I mean, I think Caleb Williams is really good. Marvin, Malik. I mean, just that first round. picks 1 through 12, you're gonna get a stud. And then even the later picks like Pearsall, I got Troy Franklin, which people were down on, but you look at his stats at Oregon with Nix as his quarterback. I mean, dude's a good receiver, so we'll see how it goes.
But then not only did you get him, but you even got a couple running backs. And even though you're pretty light at running back right now because you
Hmm.
traded all your good ones, you ended up also getting another Denver guy in Audric Estime. Like
Yeah.
by the end of it all, when you saw the picks that you made and especially where you got them at, what kind of grade would you give yourself? I know it's really early on and we
Hmm.
haven't seen anything, but like a super early grade on how you feel like you had made with your picks.
I mean, I didn't have any like crazy picks to make. I was mostly
No,
I
I
had like
think what was your first one? Like at the end of the
maybe into the second.
maybe in the second,
Yeah.
kind of early-ish into the third.
Yeah. I mean, but I think I made pretty good picks where I had them. I mean, I got Audric Estime, which I feel like rookie running backs, you can draft them all. Some of them are bound to pan out with the way the league works. And then I picked up Troy Franklin, picked up a McCaffrey brother. There's a chance there.
You did pick
Yeah,
up Luke because it was funny. It was like the fourth round. And you're like, wait, he's still here,
I know. I thought he would be gone
and
just
you
by his
picked him
name.
up.
Yeah,
Which I mean, that's kind of what I did with Frank Gore Jr.
yeah,
But I picked him up after the draft.
mm,
But you had also picked up Cody Schrader.
yeah,
Are you actually expecting anything to happen with that over the next couple of years? Because I remember him in Missouri, and he always looked really good.
yeah. I mean, there's always a chance. So, I mean, I had room on my roster to fill. I had a
I
bunch of
mean,
empty
you
spots.
have
So,
plenty of spots open.
why
You
not?
kind of had to just fill it with rookies and young guys.
Yep.
But you also got Dallin Holker.
Yeah. I
Is that
mean,
the next Saints franchise tight end?
there's a whole lot of hype coming into him. You saw his combine drill.
You saw him make the one-handed
He
catch.
could be special.
He might be up there.
Yeah.
Who knows? And then it was funny. I saw you make the pickup the other day with John Mechie. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that he was available on waivers.
Yeah, he just dropped. I saw him just scrolling through like the trending tab one day and he had popped up. Somebody dropped him. It's like, well, cool name. Something could happen. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely he's deep on the depth chart at this point, but why not just store him just in case?
Yeah, I mean that Houston wide receiver room.
Yeah.
Diggs now to go with Tank Dell and um, guys like Noah Brown and
Yep.
Nico Collins.
Still got
You're
Schultz up there.
Yeah, still got Schultz.
Oh, it's
Now they
loaded.
got Joe Mixon too. Like, I mean, he's probably not going to be able to uh, get much time out there,
Mm,
but maybe over the next couple of years you hold on to him.
yeah. I
He goes to
mean,
another team.
you never know.
That one will be pretty interesting. But at this point, who do you think is going to make the playoffs? Give me your six teams.
6 teams. Okay. Let me try to pick my brain real quick. So probably you.
Okay. Are you saying I'm the one seed
Yeah.
or
No particular order.
okay?
Say you.
No, not at all.
You
Okay.
put Cole in there.
Cole. Cole's a sneaky one.
I like Cole's team.
Cole's sneaky.
Seth. I think who else? Who else is good? Um, Probably Brandon if his rookies play well.
Okay.
I almost want to throw Micah in, but I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah,
It's kind of wishy washy.
yeah, we'll see. Say Raheem has a chance.
Okay. Five with Raheem.
Yeah, am I missing somebody good? I think. I know Hunter traded away his cool pieces.
His cool pieces.
Yeah, I don't know, we'll throw Micah in. Why not?
Almost kind of. Ooh, okay. So are you saying Landon's going to get seventh? Or do you think he's going to get eighth behind Micah?
I see Landon finishing like middle of the pack. I don't know.
So he just misses out.
Yeah,
You think he's going to be in that middle third?
probably so. You should probably trade Kelsey now.
I mean, it was funny. I tried to get him on draft night,
Mm.
and
He's
I made
stubborn
him an
with it.
offer. He's
He's
so
stubborn.
stubborn,
He
dude.
thinks Kelsey is the bee's knees.
I mean, it's kind of like A hopes. Like, just refuse to trade the good guys you got.
Hey,
I even said just trade Devon Achan. I mean, what are the odds that he's able to average what 8 yards a carry again,
Yeah,
like he did in his rookie season.
we'll see.
I mean, he very easily could get like 5, 5.5, especially with how explosive that Miami offense is. But
Oh yeah.
at the same time, I mean, how much longer are we going to expect him to go off?
hmm He's got to stall out at some point, but he is a good back, so I don't think he'll have the same production as last year, but he'll still be pretty good.
Especially not that efficiency.
Yeah, I mean that was ridiculous, but they also like to feed a lot of different mouths, so
I
see
feel
how it
like,
goes.
but if, I feel like at the same time, how much longer is Mostert going to be a mainstay in the offense? Because at
Yeah.
that point, if he's not, then that gives more touches to Achan.
Mm.
And even though his efficiency might go down and kind of be more normal, he's still going to be a productive guy. But it really comes down to how much longer is he going to be able to do that? Because he's only 5'8".
Yeah,
That's
I
that's
don't
the
see
big
him
thing. Is
as
like
a
he's not a super big back, so
yeah, I
you
don't see
can't
him as
rely
an
on his
every
durability.
down back. I think he's kind of like a Jameer Gibbs type, where you kind of have like a 1-2 punch combo, fight them back and forth.
Do you what kind of timeline do you think you're actually going to take to actually get back into contention?
I think with the cornerstone pieces I have, if depending on what picks I get, trying to tank, I think I could flip it within a year if I wanted to, or I could just keep rebuilding, maybe 2 years. I don't think it'll take long at all.
Who do you want to shit on? Because I know there's quite a few
Oh,
people
dude,
you want to
dude,
talk shit on.
A hopes,
Okay,
you're stupid.
that's one.
Micah, bald.
Oh, okay.
Let me think. Josh and Hunter, fuck both of you.
That's
I should have
understandable.
won.
You should
Who
be the
else?
two-time defending
Yeah, I
champ.
should be the two-time, but y'all lucked out. Who else? Who else sucks? Seth. I'm sorry I fucked you over, but it is what it is. Um, who else? Who else? James.
Me?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. Fuck you.
Just cause.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, that's about it.
So half the league,
Yeah, fuck
pretty
him.
much.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Not even Landon.
Landon's cool, but I mean, he should probably trade Kelsey. That's all I gotta say about that.
Just trade Kelsey
Yeah, it's over.
to who?
Anybody?
Anybody?
Yeah.
Understandable. Honestly, I would say I'm surprised you didn't want to say it to like Reed.
Reed's okay. I mean, I don't have any beef with him.
That's fair.
Yeah.
When was the last time you actually saw Reed?
Probably in high school.
Probably in high school.
Yeah.
It's been so long. It was funny. I'm wondering when are we gonna actually see Hunter?
I don't know.
Because like we've only like seen a picture of
Yeah.
him one time.
I think he lives like overseas or something. I don't know.
He lives in like no, he lives in Pennsylvania
Yeah.
or some shit. It's like the Northeast.
Guess you have to FaceTime him for the cast, huh?
Yeah, I'll have to do like a Zoom.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like when are we gonna get Seth back in the States?
True. I don't. Was he here for 4th of July, America's birthday?
I don't think so.
Treason.
That's treason.
Treason.
Because at the same time, he's been in like multiple different Asian
Yeah, you see
countries.
him in like Japan
Yeah, he was in
eating.
Japan
Yeah.
last week or some shit, and you're
Asking
like,
what anime to watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
like okay. He'd send me a snap of him showing me like a bunch of like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards. He's like,
hmm
"This is the most cards I've ever seen." I was like,
Yeah. Dude's out there traveling the world.
"For real?"
That must be nice.
I know, right?
Jeez.
Golly, he's been doing that for like the last 2 months.
I know. I need that
Must be
job.
nice, right? Golly. Well, at this point, is there anything you want to bring up? Like, is there a different rule that maybe you'd want to implement and get Brandon to do? Because I know people have talked about the kickoff rules counting toward, or the kickoff like return yards counting as points.
I mean, I think the rules we have are good. Like a kickoff point rule would be cool just to have it.
Mm-hmm.
You get a guy like Rashid Shaheed returning kicks, playing receiver this year. I mean,
I mean, I'd love it.
yeah, that'd be
More
really
points for
cool.
me.
Yeah.
Is there any like specific type of rule that maybe you would try to implement to like change up like what's going on? Because every
Uh,
once in a while, changing up a rule to kind of keep it fresh is
yeah, I
always
mean,
good.
can't really think anything off the top of my head. I mean, we have pretty much standard scoring except the tight end premium. I mean, something down the line, like maybe you could up the quarterback touchdown points to like 6.
Okay.
That wouldn't be bad.
I was gonna bring that up because Brandon's been talking about that for a while. He's either said move it from 4 points to either 5 or 6,
Mm,
which I get what he's saying because more points. Everyone loves seeing higher numbers, but at the
yeah.
same time, there's already so much of an emphasis on quarterbacks in our league, and they already put up a bunch of points anyway. Like
Mm,
a bad quarterback week for, say, Trevor Lawrence, like you're disappointed if he puts up 14.
yeah.
And but
Definitely.
like with a lot of receivers, you're hoping that they get to 14,
Mm,
and like you're ecstatic if your tight end puts up 13 or 14. So it almost, to me, it feels like that'd be too much because you've already got so many points from them initially with the passing yards, and then they already get 6 points if they score a rushing touchdown,
mm.
plus their rushing yards. So it's like, do we really need the passing touchdowns to go up?
I mean, quarterbacks are the league.
I
It's,
mean,
it's
they
cool to
are.
see.
I mean, they are, but at the same time, it almost it almost gets to, at that point, if we make it 5 or 6 points, their value is going to be so high that even though Landon was stupid and traded basically 2 firsts for Sam Howell,
Mm,
that almost becomes what you need to do because you just need someone to be in your starting lineup, and you have to give up that type of capital just to get a mid quarterback
I
or a
mean,
below average quarterback.
it'll probably change up like the different aspect of the league. Like right now, we're definitely wide receiver most valuable. If
Do
you
you
did
think so?
that, definitely.
Yeah. I
And
think it's I
then,
think it's close, but I still think it goes in favor of quarterbacks just because of naturally how many points they put up, plus the way the rosters are set up.
mm,
You essentially are looking to have two good quarterbacks, and
yeah,
I mean for the most part, that's how Seth's been carried.
I think if you have a decent starter and you can plug them in that super flex, you're good. Like you don't need two studs to win. But say you have like three stud wide receivers that put up 20 plus every week, it's a pretty big deal.
I mean, shit, if you can get three wide receivers that put up 20 plus every week, yeah, you're pretty much golden.
Yeah.
That's half your points right there, and you still have 7 other
And
spots.
I think quarterbacks and receivers have the most longevity in the league. So
Mm-hmm.
the best to build around.
And I did like what Brandon did with the tight end premium
Mm,
because even though, yeah, if you have a George Kittle or a Travis Kelsey or Gronk when he was playing in the league, you still had like a high end guy, and they could almost be another wide receiver for you just because of how productive they are in that offense. But I liked that it kind of made everything a little bit more even
yeah.
amongst the other positions.
It lets you put a little more value on them to where people want them more, which is cool.
What's your opinion on some of the guys that are kind of coming in to say year 2 or year 3, like the Jameer Gibbs or the Bijan Robinsons? Are
Mm.
you expecting them to go and do even better than they did kind of towards the back half of their rookie seasons, or is it more of a sophomore slump
I
that you're
think
expecting?
especially Bijan and Jameer, I think are both going to be really good this year. Hopefully they give Bijan the ball more, and same for Jameer. I think they kind of eased him in last year. The Lions did,
Oh yeah,
yeah, because I had him in my work league, and I had to wait until like week 7 for him to actually start doing stuff every game, which was frustrating. But I'm glad I held on to him. But I definitely think they're going to be pretty good.
like, are you expecting them to be both top 5? Because Bijan, even though you saw a couple weeks where it wasn't super great, that's
Mm,
just naturally what's going to happen. But Jameer, as the season went along, and even in the playoffs, you saw him get a little bit more touches than
yeah.
even David Montgomery got.
Mm,
So it almost feels like that's a tale or a sign of things to come that Jameer very easily could be running back 2 or 3.
yeah. I mean, depending on how many touches they give him, he could be. I think Bijan will probably be top 5 for sure. They're going to want to get him the ball more. I don't know what was wrong with Arthur Smith last year, but yeah,
That's it was weird. Like he was good as a OC, but then as a head coach, I think he just tried to do too much.
he's a weirdo. I don't know.
He is weird. the
We
mustache kind
got
of.
Jonnu Smith, your number one wide receiver, apparently.
Essentially, you're
Yeah.
trying to throw it to Mac Hollins a bunch.
I wish they would have kept him though, as a Saints fan.
As yeah, just so they could screw him over a little bit.
Yep.
I want to do because usually we do games. Initially, Brandon had started it by just kind of throwing me for a loop with that one.
Mhm.
We'll do a blind ranking. How
Okay.
about that?
Do it.
And it won't be player specific or position specific, but we'll just kind of see where you are with blind ranking them.
All right.
The first one is T Higgins. Between
Okay.
one through five, where would you blind rank him as like a fantasy football player?
As a fantasy football player,
Yeah,
right now I'd put him at 4.
you put him at four.
Yeah.
Okay, where would you put Debo Samuel?
5.
Ooh, five.
Yeah.
Wow.
5.
Producer saying three.
Debo's on the tail end.
Near the tail end of
Yeah.
his career.
Maybe a couple of years ago he'd have been higher, but
Okay. Where would you put Trevor Lawrence?
2.
Two.
Yeah.
Really? I thought that one. I thought because of what we've seen the last couple, or at least last year, he kind of went down a little bit.
Yeah,
Are
it
you
was
not? Are
a.
you think he's gonna completely go back up?
I think he'll bounce back. Last year was a tough year. I think he was dealing with some injuries. Offense was kind of shaky, but I think he'll bounce back.
So at that point, are you more? Are you expecting him to be a QB1 top 10 guy?
I would hope so. Yeah,
I
top
mean,
10.
I'm sure you would hope
Yeah,
so. He is on your team, but like, what's realistic?
I think he's capable of top 10 play. He just has to go out there and do it.
All right. Well, what about Puka Nakua?
I
You
put
have to put him at. You
Puka.
either have to put him at one or three at this point.
I think Puka's solid. I think he's good in that offense, particularly. So I put him at 3.
And then CD Lamb
Definitely a
will
1.
be number
Yeah,
one.
yeah, that checks out.
That's not too bad of a list.
Yeah,
I don't think T Law is number two. I would have switched Puka and T Law
you could
there,
argue that.
but
Yeah.
I can definitely understand having T at number four because you're not quite sure what the rest of the list is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And then even though yes, Debo is still pretty good, they're kind of on that same level, but Debo's in his late 20s at this point, so
Yeah, Debo's on the tail end.
you're wondering how much longer. And at the same time, I know it was about fantasy, but where are you when it comes to him actually being a receiver?
Debo?
Because when you watch him, anytime I've seen his highlights, for sure, like he'll get a handoff or they'll
Mm-hmm.
throw a screen to him, and he could easily take it 60 yards to the house just because he's so good in the open field.
Yeah.
But it's so weird how you look at it, and between him and Ayuk, those two guys are completely different.
Yeah, they have different games. I think Debo is more of a kind of do it all type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
He can run the ball, he's good in the open field. I don't think he's the traditional number one receiver that's out there just routing corners up. You can't guard him. But you get him in open space and get him the ball, he can make a play.
Because when I watched the highlight, and someone had brought it up on social media, I saw it as like an Instagram reel, but they talked about the difference between those two and how Ayuk is much more of a route technician
Yeah.
and is like using his technique to get open, whereas you don't often see much of a route tree with Debo. It's
Yeah,
like it's a
he's
lot of
more
screens, it's a lot of short routes just to get the ball in his hands early, which is completely understandable. Like get into your playmaker's hands as fast as possible.
mm,
But it feels like when if you're what you're asking for in a receiver, if I was San Francisco, I'm on your side. I would
mm,
rather have a Brandon Ayuk
yeah.
rather than a Debo because even
That's who I
though
would rather pay long term. Debo is good for what he does for the team, but a true number one receiver is more valuable in my opinion for your franchise.
yeah, because I mean if you're gonna pay someone the big bucks,
Yeah.
because even though you've seen Taysom Hill like do
Hmm.
his unique stuff, you still don't see him kind of getting paid as much. And I know they've manipulated that contract at least 5 times over the
Yeah.
last couple of years. But because he does so much, and not a lot of it is him being an actual quarterback, more of just quarterback runs.
Mm,
They don't have to pay him as much because you'd rather pay your other playmakers
yeah.
like you did with Mike for a while, and then with Kamara for the longest time.
Yep. Definitely.
But is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we sign off?
Uh, Not really. I mean, still taking offers on the shitty players. You can't have the good ones. Um, Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Who are you trying at the moment? Are you talking with anyone right now to try and get
No,
a
I
trade
don't have
done?
any convos going on at the moment. It's kind of
None.
a dead space at the moment in the league, I think.
Yeah,
The
it's
draft's over. We're just waiting on shit to get started.
All right, I was gonna say, you ready for football season?
Oh yeah, I mean NCAA comes out in like 2 weeks, I think. I'm about to play that nonstop. When college starts, NFL. That's all I'm gonna be doing.
Where are you when it comes to the Saints roster? And now that we know what the schedule is,
Hmm.
what kind of record prediction do you have?
I think we have the potential to win 10 games. I think it relies on how good of a play caller our new OC is and Derek Carr at the end of the day. I'm not the biggest Carr fan, as you know, but
Yeah, we've heard that quite a bit.
I am hoping he does good for the sake of the Saints.
Do you, because of the new offense and how it's a lot like a San Francisco type of offense,
Mm,
like a Gary Kubiak, Shanahan system, since it comes from that family tree, do you think that's actually going to make Derek Carr look a lot better, and it kind of puts them in contention to actually be in those games instead of it just being late rallies?
yeah, I really hope so. I think that offense is catered to make you easy on your quarterback, so he should do better. And I think it gives us a way better chance at competing. I mean, last year it was abysmal. I really do hate Pete Carmichael.
As a lot of Saints fans do.
Yeah, it was
But
rough.
but if you had to give an actual record, what would you say? Because you start off with Carolina, you have a couple of tough matchups with at Dallas, and
Mm,
then you have the Eagles at home, you have the Chiefs, and then you get farther down the line. It's not the worst, but at the same time, you have to be at Green Bay in
yeah,
December, and then you also have at Bucks to finish off the season. But before that, a solid Browns team, of course, the Falcons twice, and then you also have the Browns and the Rams.
yeah. I think it's gonna be tough, but I think if a new OC pans out,
Mm-hmm.
we can play offense a little better. Defense stands tall. I think we could get 9 wins.
You're saying 9-8?
Yeah,
Ooh, higher than me. I'm expecting 7-10.
I'm trying to hope for
You're
the
trying
best.
to be
Yeah,
optimistic.
I'm
It's still
trying.
it's still optimistic
I'm
season.
scarred from last year, but I'm really hoping we do good.
When it comes to the defense, are you still good on them, or are you worried that they'll take a step back?
I think we made a good pick in Kool-Aid to help out.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we keep Lattimore long term. I think Cam Jordan needs to step it up this year. Um, Only thing that really worries me is our pass rush, but hopefully we can get that going.
Is Do you actually think Cam is going to be able to have a decent season, or is it just going to continue that trajectory?
I'm hoping he bounces back. I think last year was hard on him. Just, I mean, last year was probably hard on everybody. I think he kind of got down in the dumps, maybe. Didn't really play as hard as he usually does. So I think he'll do a little better this year, but we'll see.
What do you think of the emergence of Carl Granderson, though?
He's pretty good. Um, Definitely gave us life since Cam wasn't there. So I think if him and Cam have it going a little bit, maybe the vibes will be up. We'll be back to Choppa Style City. Hopefully we
we
can get
we
going.
miss those
Ah,
days
dude, I love those days. I
because
miss it so much.
that stretch from 2017 to
Hmm.
2020,
The fact that we couldn't win a Super Bowl during that just breaks my heart, but the vibes were so high. I miss it.
that was especially with Jameis being on the team.
Yes, dude.
That one definitely helped.
No, I miss Jameis already.
He's
He gave us the lightheartedness we needed last year.
at that point. Are you looking? Are you going to try and continue to follow Jameis's career?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna be a backup, but still cool to see him. I love seeing all the clips of him being funny. Those never get
that's
old.
that's just always natural.
Yeah,
Like you could just tell, like that's just always been his
that's
personality. It's just
him.
and I love it, but it's also weird with that QB room because it feels like they have about 5 or 6 of them
Mm,
with Deshaun Watson, now Jameis. They have a couple other guys like DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson. I thought you give him a chance. I thought you could have potentially had him be a number 2 because I liked what he did
mm.
at UCLA, but I guess they don't see it the same way as me.
I don't know. I think it depends on the situation you go to, and the Browns just, I guess they don't like him that much. I don't know.
It seems like it.
Yeah,
Let him go somewhere else. I want him to cook.
yeah.
Speaking of Browns, do you think Nick Chubb is done?
I hope not.
Do you think we're ever going to see any sort of the same Nick Chubb that we had seen before?
He probably won't be the same, but I think he could. He's done it before. He's come back from this type of injury and been
Mm-hmm.
pretty good, but it's been a couple times now that he's had it happen. So I think he might take a step back, but it'll still be a good back.
All right. Well, Dalton, appreciate you coming on.
Yes,
I
sir.
know that we've been looking to get you on for a couple weeks now.
Mm.
We'll have to see that if we can get Raheem out of his shell because
Oh,
I
dude.
know he said he was a little bit nervous with the camera and he was going to be worried about
Mm.
not being able to talk. But
I get it. I'm like that too, but it's not bad.
I was going to say now that you've done it for about an hour, it's not too
Mm.
bad, huh?
No, it's not bad. It's just sitting here having a conversation.
Yeah, we're just talking football.
Camera makes it a little weird, but it's
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But hey, it's good to have you on, and
Yes, sir.
we'll see what goes on next season.
Yep, sounds good.
Appreciate it.
Yep.